I imagine the vines being alive, being human. My job is to take care of patients as a doctor, but my job as a winemaker is also to take care of the earth, to take care of the vines, to take care of the people of Mendoza. I often get asked if Malbec is a new variety and if it's only from Argentina. And I always like to remind people that Malbec is a 2,000-year-old grape that was famous in the Roman times and was famous in Bordeaux when all those Grand Cru wines were classified. And then when my father started making a great Malbec, Malbec was known in the world again. And so in a way, Malbec has been reborn in Argentina. Well, Mendoza is an Andean wine region, so we get the cool climate, the sunlight, and that's what you need to make fine wine. Because if it's too fertile, that's not good for viticulture. If it's not sunny enough, that's not good. And if it's not cool, then you get these not very interesting wines that are just a bunch of alcohol. One day I went up to the ADRIANNA vineyard and I saw that there was a lot of difference in the different parcels, and some of the parts of the vineyard didn't look so good. So I asked the vineyard manager what's going on there, and he said, actually, if you put me in charge of doing whatever I want to do here, I would come with a bulldozer, take all the vines out, remix the soil, and replant. I was so angry. On the way back to the city, I couldn't talk to this guy. But then I said to myself, if there's so many differences within this vineyard, this is what the French people are talking about, right? So maybe this thing that this viticulturalist that I'm talking to thinks is bad is actually a gift. So I started studying the parcels, and we now have per hectare 70 little soil pits to study the soil. And we have hundreds of parcels, which we treat differently in terms of the cover crops, in terms of the pruning, in terms of the watering, and we also vinify them separately. And each one gives us a different flavor. And that's the definition of a cru or a growth, which is parcel that gives you an extraordinary flavor that could only come from that place. And we have that in Argentina. I heard this thing about terroir, that only France had terroir. Terroir means that you taste a wine and it tastes like the soil in that place. And when I first started making wine with my father, I had sort of bought into this. And then when I started studying the different parcels and I started tasting the graininess in one, the aromatics in another, I just could not blend these wines together. And that's where these single parcel wines came from, the wines of ADRIANNA. These wines are so incredibly different, yet they are planted one right next to each other. To me, that is just so exciting that we can make these wines of terroir, these wines that taste like a very particular place in Argentina. The Andes Mountains are the lifeblood of the Mendoza region. Without the water from the Andes, we would not have farming and we would not have our traditional life of Mendoza. And so every time I go up there and I see that snow, I am just so grateful for the Andes, for the Indians that built the canals, and for everything that's been given to our family.